Alright, good morning boys and girls. We are going to go ahead. I just kind of wanted to take today, I know we've been talking about a lot of information with nonfiction, with really every subject that we've been doing a lot with. Today I wanted to use as a wrap-up day for nonfiction. I know we've been talking a lot we're studying farms this week, but this is just some of the things, especially with nonfiction we've been reading. So we're going to read some nonfiction text with farms, and I've noticed too, especially with my class, that every book that they're starting to see or every how-to book, you guys are pointing out those table of contents, that's nonfiction, the glossary, the bold words, so I can tell you guys are taking in a lot of the stuff that we've been talking about. Porter?
A lot of nonfiction books have table of contents.
Exactly, that's one of its text features. So when we're thinking about reading a nonfiction book, I want us to start thinking about how to monitor our thinking. So as you're reading, what are you thinking about during the story? So when you read, you should be thinking about whether you thought about this topic, whether what you thought about the topic is true. So before you read, you should think about what did you know before going into reading this story. Your hand should be down right now. A lot of times as we read nonfiction text, what we thought we knew about that topic changes. Because one, we find out a lot more about that topic, and we're getting it from a true source. So sometimes what we thought we knew wasn't right. So as we're thinking and as we're reading, our thinking sometimes changes. It might be like, oh, yep, I already knew that. Or it might be, oh, I did not know that. Or I thought I knew that. That's something cool that I did not know before I read this story. Because when we read these, we're reading these stories to find out more information. So whether, absolutely.
There's 2 questions.
Yep,
Thank
you
you.
can sit right on that back table. So whether what you thought about the topic was true or false, you're still getting the big takeaway of that you learned something new. Okay? Because remember, it's okay to be wrong sometimes. As long as we're learning from those mistakes and we're figuring out, well, how can I do better for next time? So, when what you thought about the topic is false, always fix up or correct your thinking, and then celebrate the new thing that you learned. Because at the end of the day, we just want you guys to learn. So we know that nonfiction books are all about talking what we think we know about and finding out if we were right or learning something new about the topic. So that's something that's really important that I want us to make sure that we're taking away too. Today we're going to look through some different nonfiction mentor texts that we've already read. So we're just going to go back and look at some of those important nonfiction text features that we spent a lot of time learning about. We're going to practice using some of the strategies that we've talked about. For example, context clues. Do you guys remember what context clues are? Matthew? You're going to learn a lot about it when you get into like 4th and 5th grade and 3rd grade. Context clues. Leanne?
Like the title of the book is going to tell you what it is.
Yes. So when you're not sure what something is, you're using those text features like the title, the heading, the information, the other words within the sentence to figure out what it is. Because there's clues all around it. You just have to read it and dig deep and figure out what it actually means. So for example, when we were reading the story Glow, one of the things we really looked at in this book was the word bioluminescence. Do you guys remember what bioluminescence means? Logan?
It's a light that animals make.
It's a light that animals make. Danny, what were you going to add?
I do remember answered a lot of questions about those, and I got all of them right.
Okay, but what were we adding about the bioluminescence?
Well, lots of fish use them. They're in the deep sea. Deep dark.
Well, and they don't even have to be in the sea, right? Because we learned about animals that were in the sea, and then we also learned about animals that were on land.
That's what they used to float the sea when
Some of them did, but some of them didn't. Some of them, like fireflies or lightning bugs, those are ones that are on land that fly in the sky and that we see at night. So when we first learned that word, we practiced saying bioluminescence, which is a very long word. Will you say bioluminescence?
Bioluminescence.
And it tells us to start off the book on the very first page. Since our story is about glow, it doesn't even get into anything else. It starts right away with what bioluminescence means. It's called bioluminescence. And then some words are hard to tell how you pronounce them, so they also put underneath it, if you were to sound it out, how you would sound it out with those type of letters, which is also really helpful too. So it says bioluminescence is when living things make their own light. So right away, it tells us what it means. They glow. And that is the introduction that the author thought would be best when teaching about animals that glow. It starts right off with the definition. So we used our context clues to look at the picture, to follow along with the words around it, to figure out what that means. We did a lot with this story in that. Logan?
What's that animal called that? It's called an anglerfish.
This one is not an anglerfish. That's not what we were talking about. I need you to stop calling out. Ariana?
And it has a step-by-step.
Well, this one wasn't step by step. This one just gave us a bunch of information about different animals that glowed. And we learned about, do all animals glow for the same reason? No, they all glowed for different reasons. Do you guys remember what those reasons were? Evan?
To let other predators know to be friends that eat them.
Yes. Some of them glowed because they wanted to let other predators know, do not eat me. What were some other reasons why, Skylar?
So they could talk to each other?
Yeah, some of them that's how they communicated with the other fish that were like them, by glowing. Danny?
I know exactly two.
Okay, tell me them.
Both of them are not the same.
To help and to hunt others, true. All right, so we were able to take a lot with that story by using the pictures and the context clues to help us learn more about bioluminescence and why fish glow. Okay, that's what that story was all about, right, Auden? Let's take a second and look back at this one, an animal community. All right, so this one, our focus, we were looking at different bold vocabulary words, and we used the context clues around it in the pictures and the captions and in the sentences to figure out what words meant. I'm gonna flip back to where we learned about what a nursery was, and let's see if we can use our context clues to figure that part out too. I'm gonna use the table of contents so I can find it. Okay. Ariana, your hand should be still. All right, so we get to this section that's called Prairie Dog Families. Okay, so I'm gonna read it. Down here, this caption says the pups stay in their town in a room called a nursery. When the pups are 5 weeks old, they can go above ground and look for food. So, what does this picture and that caption kind of tell us more about? What does that tell us? Just my same friends? Will? It says the pups stay in their town in a room called a nursery. How does that help us learn what a nursery is? Mia. Well, what are pups? Well, what were pups? The babies, right? And it's saying that they have to stay in a certain room together when they're that young as pups. So taking what we know about pups or when we have babies and we take them to daycare in the nursery, They all stay together because they're the same age, and then someone looks after it. So by thinking about our background knowledge of what a nursery is and how we do it for humans, we can put that together with the prairie dog pups and that they do a similar thing with their nursery. Evan, put it in your backpack.
A nursery is something like where they take care of stuff.
Yes, exactly. And not just stuff, it would be their pups, the little babies, which is what we do too. All right, so another good one was in I See Kookaburra. We learn about a lot of different types of animals here. And one of the things that we really focused on too is they have a lot of bold words in here. The bold words though weren't vocabulary words, they were the names of the different types of animals. So there are so many different ones. So each animal is a bold word and something that the author thought was important and something that we needed to learn about because they were different animals than the ones that we were used to. Okay? And then to start each page as we go to the different places around the world, it made the words bigger because it told us that this is what this next section is going to be about. And as we dig deeper, each of the bold words too were the animals that live within that part of the world. Danny? So what? No, sweetie, we're moving on to the next thing. We'll come back to it later, okay? Yeah, there were a lot of them. All right, and then the last one that was something important we talked about in here was the glossary. Do you guys remember what the glossary was? Porter?
The title.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you because someone's talking right now.
The title on top. I think it's a bold word.
Mm-hmm.
That you can, if you don't know what it means, you can go to the end of the book.
Exactly. The glossary takes all the bold words that were in the story. It puts it in one page so you can look at it and figure out what does that word actually mean. If you weren't able to use your context clues to figure it out within the sentence on each page, you can go to one spot and find all of those important words that can help you get a better idea of what the story is talking about. Okay? So again, just another great way to really think about all the things that we've learned. We learned about a lot of different text features and took a lot of big takeaways from this. So when we think about topic words or from the glossary, discovering what they mean, notice the big words in bold or large print, right? We've been talking about that a lot. That's the way that the author is showing that those are important. Think about the title or the topic. Remember, we learned that in nonfiction text, the title helps give us a little snippet of what the story is going to be about. Visualize what is happening. Remember, we read that elephant page and we learned a lot by closing our eyes and visualizing what we were talking about and using our 5 senses to do that. Right? We were able to go ahead. You can go back, sweetie. And we were able to just listen, be really good listeners, and draw what we saw or what we heard because we didn't see anything. Don't forget to look at the pictures or the photographs. That's also really important in figuring out what certain words mean. Use the glossary or words to know section to help you discover and learn the meaning of the words. All of that is called using your context clues. It's not straight out telling you what it is, but by using the clues that are all found in the story, you're going to be able to figure it out on your own too. Okay? So today we're going to practice finding these text features in our mentor text. I'm sorry, this is something different, but go ahead and look at the assignment for today, or that one's for another day, and I will check it, and I hope you enjoyed this video.